Welcome to the new episode of NBS Podcast. And today we have a wonderful speaker. And his name is Cristian Salomoni. He's the criminal psychologist and expert in nonverbal communication. Welcome, Cristian.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
So let's jump into our conversation. And the first question, tell about yourself, how you started to be in this sphere of nonverbal communication, what you're doing.
Well, I'm a psychologist and I have a degree in political science and international relationship from the University of Milan, and I have several masters in criminalistics and forensic science, and the common thread of my studies always has been to understand people, to understand the human being. Why do they do what they do, or why do they choose one product and not another one, or why they vote one particular political party and not another, and also why someone even kill and commit crimes, And I believe that communication in general, but of course, most of all, the nonverbal communication is the key to answer this question, and that is why I dedicate myself to help all kind of professionals to understand people, because we know from our personal and professional experience that people are very complicated, with your girlfriend, understand your girlfriend, your husband, your colleague is very complicated. The human being is very complicated. Because also among all my students and my client, there are all kind of professionals. I think I have worked with all kind of professional. For example, police forces, because they need to understand, for example, how a suspect communicates in a room on interrogation, or for example, lawyer to ask the correct question to they, for example, the people in the judgment. Or for example, I don't know, a professor to improve the communication skills, because all of us one time had a professional with a voice very monotonous, so to improve their skills, or father and mothers to understand the children, for example, also is important. People who have to speak in public, maybe they have some social phobia, so it's very important to improve the skills of communication. But even though they are different profiles, everyone needs to communicate. Everyone.
Everything in each sphere. I mean, like all our lives, no matter it's personal or professional, we need this communication. And what in which part you could divide nonverbal communication? Like how it is created, what exactly is connected with nonverbal communication, and why it's so crucial, apart from for instance, when we are communicating with our with the dialogue, and what is about, for instance, our body language.
Well, by nonverbal communication, we refer to all behavior carried out with our gesture, posture, the personal image, or our message that are transmitted with the voice and with the use of the space that surrounds us. And thanks to nonverbal communication, we can understand many things, many important things about people. They test it. For example, I think they prefer classical music, for example, or their political preferences or market preferences. So it's very important. Or for example, if they belong to a certain group or tribu, including their age, their profession, is very it's like a silent language but always is very loud. Or also we can understand how people feels, and it's very important to understand that. And I always said we are seeing before we are heard. So nonverbal communication is crucial. And I always say in my class that nonverbal communication is important equal that verbal communication, because the two parts of this communication must be congruent. I can say, I'm very happy to be here in this podcast, and like look in the door like I want to be in another place. No, so it's both are important, but I have to say that nonverbal communication is like this push, you know, it's like this is more powerful because it's faster. People understand it better. Without doing a neuroscience class, we were born as a species with nonverbal communication. The human language came later with the development of certain part of the brain. So in this case, that's the reason why humans understand nonverbal communication, or maybe they are more sensitive about nonverbal communication and they can understand it. And for this reason, the nonverbal communication is the push to win, to get to know you better, and I make people understand that they need, as we said, this communication to achieve their professional but also personal goals. Imagine you are having, let's see, picture you in a conversation with someone, and without saying a single word, they cross their arms, avoid the eye contact, and slash their chair. So what message do you think they are sending? It's like, well, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't want to talk.
Exactly. Think about, for example, let's see, your last interview, job interview, or a presentation in front of your colleagues or classmates. Did you pay attention to how you present yourself beyond just the words you spoke? Nonverbal communication plays a crucial role in the situation. Your body language, eye contact, the vocal tone, is very important. Is the hidden X factor. It's the charisma. It's the charisma, and they can make or break your success. So it's very important. And for example, have you ever wondered in this case, more personal?
Yes.
Why someone words alone are not enough to cover our true thought and feelings?
Definitely.
I love you. No, I love you with a kiss, with a hug, is more powerful. For this reason, nonverbal and verbal communication are important to be congruent. And the nonverbal communication is the spice, is the spice of your communication in general. And the problem in this time is that nobody nobody teach us how to use our nonverbal communication. First of all, also the technology. Imagine we are always with the mobile phone.
Yes, that's what I wanted to mention, because I was wondering to ask you about how nonverbal communication is used in our professional, personal life. But I come up with the thought that, for instance, right now we have dry texts. And the only thing we could use maybe some emojis or the brackets at the end of the sentence, but it's still very hard to understand the expression of the person with what kind of emotion you want to give this information.
Exactly. In a congress, what very funny, I asked to the attenders how many of them with their flatmate or his family communicate via WhatsApp, even if they were in the same house. They all attended, raised their hands. So it's very it is the dark side of technology, I think. And also, as I said, no one teaches us, neither in school or in university, where nonverbal communication should be relevant, such the University of Journalism or for political science or law. Nobody. There are no subject. Okay, this is the subject of nonverbal communication. No. So communicating, I tell you seriously, is something important because the market right now, the job market, is very competitive. And in front of so many curriculum, CV, all brilliant with the same studies or experience, who win? Who win the job interview? If are the same, well, the answer is the candidate who use perfectly his no-verbal communication, of course. So, in short, communication is the key to our success, and you don't have. This is very important for our listener. You don't have to have a special gift. You have only to work it and learn about it.
What I'm currently feeling is that during the job interview, the vast majority of the applicants, they're thinking about themselves, like how they present themselves, what they're doing, that they have to be super confident, to basically to sell themselves. But I think nonverbal communication also could help to understand the reaction of the person in front of you. And maybe you should think less about your own behavior and concentrate on how the other person reacts and how you could maybe fit in the mood of this person or like what this person like more. And I suppose nonverbal communication could allow you to understand actually which could be like more interesting or which topics you should push, and then with this person gonna be like more welcoming.
That's right. It's completely true. It's very important. Yeah.
And also, if we talk about different cultures, demographics, and this separation, because I suppose there are different gestures which has different meaning in different countries.
Yeah.
And also the amount of gestures depends on your nationality and sometimes the country you've been raised in. So
yeah, it's a very good question because some aspects of nonverbal communication are universal, like mostly our facial expression of emotion. However, other very culturally, different culture have their own set of norms, values, and social expectation with which influence how people express themselves non-verbally. There are gestures that in some culture mean something in particular, but in another you can have another completely different meaning and can even be an insult. For example, if I do this, now with globalization, all understand, yeah, it's everything is okay, all right, etc. But in the Italian culture and the Mediterranean culture, also is an insult. So be aware about it. Or for example, also this. It's like the surfer, you know.
Yeah.
It's like everything
like
is good.
For me, maybe
What mean for you?
I'm
Let me
not that old, but for me it's like a phone call.
Of, you know, for example, Egyptian people, if I do this, and I mean yesterday,
Yeah, like
for this culture, it's like tomorrow. There are a lot of gestures very different behind a lot of culture. And also, not all culture, but also subculture, tribus, groups, etc. So it's a word about culture. Or for example, we also study the feeling of touch in nonverbal communication. Touch is something that we study a lot. There are a lot of investigation, very interesting. And there are high contact and low contact culture. Mediterranean and Latin people, is like high contact. However, English, American, North European also is low contact, which means that hugs, pats on the back can be seen as an attack or violation. And also the distance we call proxemic is the use of the distance. There is a low and high distance culture. If we speak with a very short distance in America, be careful because we can have a very important problem, as it happened in Iraq, where the local population in Iraq spoke with a very short distance normally, and the American soldier they saw it as an attack, and there were many confrontation because they understand, like, okay, they want to fight. No, they speak in this short distance. So it's something that we have we have to study in order to don't have these misunderstood. No, in the end, the culture, the context, the values, the society, the influence, well, change and shapes our nonverbal communication. It is true that there is an universal part of nonverbal communication, especially the facial expression, because there are 7 emotions that are universal: the joy, the fear, the sadness, the disgust, the anger, the surprise, and the last one was the contempt. And it is proved by anthropological research, or think of the fetus before they are even born, have emotion. You can see in the echo, the 4D echo, so it can be seen. So it's the culture and universal part of nonverbal communication. There are the same part of this fantastic world of this communication.
Yeah, there is so much difference, and I think you could study all your life about different meanings and rules, how the different societies behave. And for me, I also met this. It's not the problem, but something unusual, because when I moved to Barcelona, to Spain, when you meet with someone, people usually give you like 2 kisses.
Yeah.
And for me, as a person who like barely touch everyone, and I really like my personal space, like before the pandemic,
Exactly.
I was always, it's my personal space, and the maximum for me, from my culture, is to shake the hand. And here everyone starts with hugging and kissing, and I was like, what? I don't know you. I don't even know you. Why can't you say just like hello? And that's
Yeah,
it.
good point. Also, in my country, we give 3 kisses, and now I'm used to give 2. Is like mwah, mwah, and the other one is like with expecting the third, but it's not coming. Yeah, it's the culture. In my class, as you will see, we work on it, because also we have our personal proxemic, our personal safe space, and so I have a lot of role plays and activity to understand how is this space, how many centimeters is this space. It's very interesting about it.
That's true, because also sometimes you don't want to be mean, you just don't know that the person got used to it, and you're afraid to disappoint this person. But yeah, I think it's always about the experience and different cultures. You told about different variabilities and emotions which are possible to feel, to understand, and is there any points or any emotions which are more significant than another? What are like maybe like top on which you have to pay more attention, like which is just a must, and maybe the rest which are a little bit more hidden and more specific?
This is very personal. For example, there are a lot of people who have a lot of gesture, or people, you know, his face is like open book. You see perfectly which emotion he's feeling. It's like, oh yeah, okay. It's like open book. But normally we study the gesture, what we do with our hand and our foot, the posture, personal image, the clothes, the symbol, for example, the proxemic, the distance, the haptics, the feeling of the touch, the oculesic, you know, the look, facial expression, also the chronemic, is the use of the time, is very also important in nonverbal communication, and finally the paralanguage or prosodic is like what we do with our voice, and it's very important also for political people that I work a lot with these professionals, and the most studied is the facial expression. Yes, this is very important, because as I said, is a universal part, and you can apply more easily to everyone because it's universal. And it's very important for me to underline in this podcast, using a scientific method. It's very important for me, not like other people do, like synergology, that went so far as to say that if I look to the left, I'm lying. If I scratch my face, I'm lying, where it's not true. There are no scientific validity, so it's very important also to to understand that also is the opposite. There are some investigation that it is covered that it's not like the synergology said, but it's the opposite. And there are many scientific studies in many professional fields where it is investigate how nonverbal communication is useful. For example, the touch in the medical field, so that the patient take medicine and they get cured, or the space in education environment for studying to learn more, or the posture in criminological field to avoid being a victim of robberies, and for example gesture to better express our speech in the classroom. So it's very important, the method and the scientific part of nonverbal communication.
Because I've heard a lot about different stereotypes or how people are trying to understand if that's a lie or not, and I think with such huge amount of all the different stereotypes and the things that, but this person told me this like told me completely opposite thing, and to find actually the truth, not about like what people are talking or saying, but actually what is scientifically proved, and it's quite interesting. And if we go deep into like the professional field, and for instance, if we go deep into the market and sales, how I want you to explain both positions: the position of the seller, and how it's important for the seller, the nonverbal communication, and also of the person you're selling to, who's going to buy the product, or for instance how we basically switch this role in our daily life, in professional life, like every second.
I got you. In my case, it's crucial. In my case, one important things of human being is understand the customer's personality. It's basic. And how we can do that? You can give them a test, like a test. Please, I give you this test. I understand your personality. No. Another time, non-verbal communication is the key and can help you. I apply on my own way what in psychology is called DISC, D-A-S-C, which is widely used in human research when it comes to find the perfect candidate. And it's also based on the psychology and philosophy of Hippocrates and Galeno. It's it's easy, but it's very practical. I explain that there are 4 kinds of personality for the customer, but also in our daily life. And but without explain it in details, I want to picture something very, very, very easy to imagine ourselves when we are selling. If you communicate in the same way with all your clients, you are wrong. Well, maybe it's functional, but think about it. There are customers who talk a lot. Other that you have always constantly to ask, this is okay, what do you think about it? Because they don't speak a lot. There are customers who come very prepared with all the detail. They had see your rival, etc. And you can fail because otherwise they will think you are not prepared if you can't explain something. Another who let you advise them. Okay, yeah, perfect, I buy it. So it's very different, the two profile. And also, this is very crucial, there are customers whose decision making is based on emotion. Another one with the reason, with the detail, the statistics, etc. No, if you are selling, for example, let's see an example very very easy. If you are selling a photo camera, okay, a photo camera to the emotional customer. Let's see, what I call the sanguine. Is the sanguíneo, is one of the four personality. You have to talk about the great photo of the social networks, the followers they will get, how handsome they will be in this photo. If you start talking about the megapixels, the memory of this camera photo, they don't pay attention. They close their brain and just pay attention. And you need this attention.
Sure.
You know, or for example, on the other way, let's figure the personality more. They make decision is more reasonably, and I call him melancholic. The name is very awful, but I don't invent it. You have to explain all the details possible. If you start talking about emotion, they will leave. And what we don't want is that they are going to the rival or write a bad review or a complaint. So if you recognize this for personality, you can more easily reach the mind of your client. And anyway, the four personality are sanguíneo, melancholic, choleric, and phlegmatic. I repeat, the name is very boring. But in my classes, I associate like animals or a superhero. For example, the choleric is Superman. The melancholic is Batman. The sanguíneo is Flash. And the phlegmatic is Wonder Woman.
Wow.
So imagine also with this four personality, you can sell a camera de photo in the same way to Superman or Batman. It's not. And also, as I said, is also in a personal field. If you try to get in love with Batman, it's very different. If you try to seduce Superman, Batman in your first, when you go out, he brings you in a romantic place, a restaurant with low light. Flash is a young guys, so he takes you to a concert. So you know the for personality, for different make decision and everything. So you have to understand it, and nonverbal communication can understand this personality and so act in consequence.
Wow, it's so applicable in the professional life at the same time as in personal life, and I know this difference perfectly. And sometimes I'm changing the role by myself because I have, for instance, different mood. And one time I go to the shop, and when the customer service comes to me and try to like, do you need help? I will tell you about this product. You're like too loud for me. I'm not in a mood to talk or listen. I know exactly what I want. I know where it's placed, and I don't have any questions. Please don't communicate with me. Like when you start to communicate with me, I want to leave this place and like maybe go another time when there's like will be another stuff. But sometimes I go to the shop and like, okay, now I want you to sell me the product, and I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to ask the questions, and please like tell me. Try to, because it's changing. It's not always the same time. Like don't talk with me ever.
Of course, yeah. We have most of all two of that, the personality, and the other two is like in less percentage. But you are true. Yeah, it's true.
And about you also mentioned that you're leading the classes currently, and you're leading not the whole model but the master classes. And the feedback we got from the students that we're like, oh, can we change like other professor or another model? We need like the whole model, not just a couple of classes. They're like, we'll try to think about it.
Wow, I'm very proud. Yeah.
So everyone was impressed. And what exactly students are gonna learn and gain on your classes? And for instance, is it only for the way of the presentation during the studies, or it's something that they are applying in their life, like everywhere?
In their entire life, really, because nonverbal communication can be approached in many ways. Really, in many ways, my students they can understand how to express themselves to others, to avoid misunderstanding. They can understand people better, to know what's really going on with them. They can communicate to achieve their goals, because we always communicate, and we have to communicate well to live. And also, we cannot communicate something that we are not. You can communicate a value that you don't have hidden you. That's why we need to pay attention to nonverbal communication, and communication, and it's the DNA of the human species. That's why you can apply in every context. Also, when we are not here, our nonverbal communication speak about us. You know, my table where I work, my home speak about me. So it doesn't matter if I'm here.
Yeah.
So let's see how many significant message we send with our nonverbal communication.
What I mentioned for myself is that you could also give the classes about the public speaking. And for the entrepreneurs or business owners, it's important to pitch their ideas and the presentations. And in my head, I have the different feelings and some kind of separation when I have face-to-face dialogue with one person, and when I'm presenting something for like 10, 20, 50 people in front of me sitting. And what is the difference between like the public communication and this personal?
Yeah.
Is there a difference?
It's very different, but the key is always to understand your public, as I said, with the personality of the public, and you need an implication. This implication is the nonverbal communication, because you can go here and said blah 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 and said your speech without gesture, without posture. Well, it's very boring, you know. So this implication, this charisma, this X factor is the nonverbal communication. You need the nonverbal communication to achieve your goals. Also, when you sell, if the product is very good, but you don't you can't sell it properly, it is done.
It's also lots of examples.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, when the product is like awful, but the packaging and the way it's sold,
Wow.
it's like wow, and it's make people buy it, even though like the whole idea of the product it's not that brilliant. It's just the way of selling, and especially what's going on the market. And do you need to push yourself, for instance, if you are not get too used to have lots of gestures, or otherwise if you are talking very emotionally, changing the speed of your speech, you go like with the voice loud, then go quiet. Should you, for instance, try to change yourself in order to present better? Because I suppose when you like punishing yourself and trying to like, oh, I've heard that I have to use like gestures to present it like more attractive for the customers, I don't think that it could look natural. So what is like the balance and how it works?
You have to work it. For example, in history, Margaret Thatcher worked a lot of that, because her voice was very loud. So she learned how to balance this voice to feel this voice more professional, more with authority. You have to work, but never forgot what are you and your essence. Of course. I mean, when I said you have to work it, I don't convert people like a robot,
Yes.
but be authentic, but with your own nonverbal communication, of course.
So it's possible to improve each part, but as much as you're like comfortable with it, and not trying to be who you are.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm more chill, because for me it's not a problem, but sometimes like, okay, I could be more emotional or play with my voice a little bit. It also depends on the languages. The topic of coming back to another countries.
Yeah.
For me, the first time I met the Spanish people, I thought that they are fighting. They're like screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And for me, when my voice is completely plain, no matter what kind of emotion I'm expressing, it was like, why are they fighting? They're like, no, they just asked like, how are you? And I'm like, it is like this meaning. So
Remember that I don't invite you in my house, because we are very loud. Italian people is like,
because we have students from Italy, and sometimes they're like, okay, but now I find it so cute, and then it's a difference, and it's who they are, and sometimes they start to be a little bit shy because all the people around they're acting differently, and they're like the only this like loud bright thing, but we tell them, no, don't be shy, don't try to do anything, like any kind of accents, expressions. It's your personality, it's where you're from, and I think it's great. Otherwise, if everyone would talk as a robot, it's not alive anymore.
It's always what the people expect from you. You know, if I'm too emotional, I can balance it. Doesn't mean that okay, you forgive your emotionality. No, it's like balance depends on the context, etc. So what we work is this balance between non-verbal communication, your verbal communication in the context. So we work on it without losing your personality, your treasure, your accent, your the authentic part of you, of course.
It's also about how complicated are the human beings, that we are quite flexible and we can also control ourselves.
Exactly.
And sometimes we can, for instance, stop ourselves or hide some kind of parts and just act a bit differently. So, lastly, I want to ask you to give an advice or some kind of a life hacks or tips how to understand better nonverbal communication and also how to improve the nonverbal communication of yourself.
Well, I can reveal my secret. I can reveal my secret. I want to be like a mysterious. No, I'm just kidding. To observe. My answer is to observe. The observation is the basic rules to understand people, okay? To understand his non-verbal communication and his verbal communication. The human being thinks that everything is in the word, everything is in the speech. No, what we say and not how I say something, how we say something, it's always more powerful. For example, I don't, how can I say, most of all, when we fight, with person, we discuss with person, is because how he say that, not what they say that. It's like the how and not the what. And that's why we don't pay attention to nonverbal communication. We're always thinking about the words, okay, what he said. No. Let's pay attention of the nonverbal communication, observe this nonverbal communication. And I think that you have already understood with this podcast that is the most important things, the nonverbal communication. Observe the others, and you also pay attention or this hidden message. It's
so
very
tricky.
important.
That's so tricky. Because I also think, and because you're also working in a criminal sphere, that sometimes you can say one thing, but your body will tell you a completely different one.
Totally.
And it's not only about the crimes, but also about like your personal lives.
Of course.
Because you pay attention to the words, but stop for a second and maybe think what like the body of the person wanted to tell you, not the words.
Yet last, fall in love with nonverbal communication, because I see that all my student and client, when they understand that this is work, is working,
Yes.
and this is useful, they become passionate and they want more, they observe more, and so it's a word, as I said always. Nonverbal communication it's a beautiful word that open your eyes and pay attention to things that before you didn't see, And so the strategic, my advice is to observe.
Definitely, because I think it's a dream to understand other people better, to better understand yourself, and maybe you don't have to get the degree in psychology. Like not every person need it, but for your daily life, to mention these small things, which at the end could bring you so much effort, they could bring you so much benefits at the end.
Of course.
Because by mentioning something and understanding it in professional and personal life everywhere. And I want to say thank you a lot for coming today. Thanks for sharing like all this amazing information about nonverbal communication. And I think it's the point where we start to open our eyes on our lives, on the people around us, and just actually like new word how to look at this.
So thank you very much to you to invite me in this podcast. That is very useful for our listener.
For everyone, I think.
Thank you very much. Bye.